What is going on, everybody? What's going on? It's James Hollingsworth here, back with you on the Working People's Podcast, where everybody desires to build generational wealth and a financial legacy for their family. And today, it's about to get real, better and gooder, better than expected, gooder than you can ever imagine, because we have with us special, and I do mean special guest, Chauncee Hollingsworth. But I can't introduce him as good as he can, so I'm going to give Chauncee just whatever you want to share to say about yourself, to introduce yourself, whatever background you want to give. Hey, just take your time to let everybody know who you're from, what you do, how you do, what you do, when you do, whatever the case may be. But Chauncee, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and let them know who you are, and just give them, just some information about yourself.
Yeah, what's up, good people? Chauncee Hollingsworth. Originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota now. I do real estate, entrepreneur, bunch of random stuff. But my biggest goal and opportunity that I feel like I have is to impact people on and off the basketball court, from starting a ministry called Hoops and Christ back in 2011. I just found out yesterday that I actually opened up the bank account in like March of 2012. So it's been quite the journey, building the organization and helping people understand their purpose outside of just the game of basketball, but then also stepping into a new arena of real estate and utilizing the same principles that I did back in 2010 and 11. Now, 12 years later in 2022. So principles remain the same. People change. Opportunities shift. It's up to you to shift with the opportunity. So,
yeah, I remember kind of just stay on that as when you were talking about starting the organization, Hoops and Christ, and you were doing some. You had a regular job and doing other stuff. I mean, your life was totally different.
Oh yeah, it was tremendously different. So I was, when I first started Hoops and Christ, if I'm not mistaken, I was youth pastoring at a local church. I was also valeting for this valet company. And then I was also working at the Mall of America, at the hat store at the Mall of America. So it was quite busy schedule for me. And I learned how to adjust pretty quick once I end up, having a girlfriend. So I had to shift.
Yeah. Girlfriend, aka now wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Tara. She's awesome. She's awesome.
She's
awesome.
Dope. Hopefully she don't walk herself behind this camera again while we record it.
We are live.
We so, live now, sweetheart. Don't walk behind the camera.
So I had some things I wanted to get into, because I know your time is very precious. You do have your hands not just in, but upon a lot of different projects, a lot of things that you're doing, that you're working on, people that you're working with, relationships, partnerships, networking, all of the above, right? Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to tap into your knowledge base on some things and get your perspectives, especially because sometimes when I'm talking about certain things, I'm older, a little bit older. So sometimes there could be a little disconnect because of the age difference, and you start talking about millennials and stuff like that. So I wanted you to really dive into some things, that I'm going to bring some topics up. And one of those things I want to bring in, that you sparked my mind on, and I was listening to a podcast from the Roommates. I don't know if you're familiar with them, and they were interviewing Stefan Speaks. And one of the things he talks about was working, is how the work ethic seems to be different from my generation to your generation.
No question.
And how he talked about how a lot of the millennials now, they want to just move from school to the top of, the workforce or the work field, or just jump right into making six figures, or jump right into just, right. They don't understand that grind. So can you talk about that some more from your perspective? Because you mentioned about how you were working at the hat store, how you were valeting, how you were a youth pastor at the church, how you were doing things Didn't look sexy, didn't look glamorous, didn't look high profile, none of that. But did those jobs prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. So I think that is a, you know, a complex question to an
Yeah,
extent, because I think the one thing with this, first I'll talk about me first. So I think for me, like growing up, I feel like I've always been an old soul.
true.
I've always liked to hang around old people and learn. Well, old school people, their work ethic was a little bit different, and not by choice, right?
Mm,
So
facts.
I think growing up for me, it was a mindset of understanding that I work hard not because I want to, I work hard because I have to. And then
Facts.
me having to work hard to get everything that I wanted, or things that I wanted to accomplish, it then forced me to love the journey and the process of working hard. And then
Facts.
after playing for my high school coach, Justin Tatum, you know, he really instilled in us another level of work ethic and another level of creating a system, and how when you create this system, there can be nothing that can destroy that system when you have work ethic and dedication and passion behind what you do. Uh, and I think it's also a mindset of understanding that with my work ethic, I can utilize my gifts for the kingdom. And then that sparks even more of a work ethic out of me personally, because
Yes.
I'm saying, well, I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for the kingdom. And then a reward of me doing it for the kingdom is also many opportunities and blessings that God um, gives me as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing with that is, I think this generation and millennials, uh, I think what's a little bit different from what's y'all generation again? I don't remember. Baby boomer.
Uh,
No.
I'm right on the edge of the baby boomer slash Gen, was it Gen X? I think I am. I'm like right on that edge. I'm like the beginning
Okay.
stages of like the Gen X or whatever it
Whatever
is.
that is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't remember all the, but we had to study them in school, and I don't remember that stuff.
I know.
But I think the good and the bad thing, right? So in this generation nowadays, it's more of a microwave generation, right?
Hmm.
Everybody, it's like an Instapot, it's like air fryer. Everything has to be,
Yeah.
within 15 minutes or less, right? 2 minutes or
Yes.
less. You throw
Facts.
some macaroni in the microwave, that joint to be done in 3 minutes, and it's nasty, right? And the thing is I'm not gonna lie, it's hard for me to necessarily appreciate things when they come so quick and come so fast. And I think it's
Facts.
hard for people in this generation when they receive these raises and they go to one company and then they say, "Oh, you're not paying me enough," and they move to the next company. It's like,
Facts.
when have you had to face adversity that allowed you to grow as an individual person, that put you in position to be successful, outside of just this, situation of this job? So
Hmm.
but I also think the good thing with this generation is, this good generation is not taking no mess from anybody, right?
Facts.
They're not saying, "Oh, like, I don't care who it is." They're not saying, "Oh, you're not going to pay us XYZ. We deserve this." And this generation has a little bit more power because of social media and
That's true.
social media platforms, to be able to uh, be equity builders, but also generational trendsetters. So
Hmm.
I think that's kind of the move that we're in. But also, there's a pro and con to everything, and I think that's one of the pros and cons. It's like, yes, they don't, probably in this generation, they don't maybe necessarily believe in working as hard, because of the instantaneous, like,
Yes.
things that they want
Yes.
to happen, for them. But also on the flip side of it is, uh, they're not taking mess. Like, the expectation for certain jobs and opportunities are being spoken for right away. So
That's true.
things they want things to happen, and this generation make things happen. They when they get behind each other and they start pushing stuff on social
Man.
media, things start
Yes.
moving
And pretty quickly.
quickly.
Yes. It's interesting when you brought that pros and cons part up. So, you get the news notifications, your phone just always randomly. You
Hmm.
go to Google and it gives you these suggestions. Well, I saw this guy, he had retired, so it said, at age 35, and he had
Hmm.
a pretty substantial net worth when he retired, over $1 million. at age 35, and he talked about 7 things that he recommended that people would do that thought outside the box and it didn't meet conventional methods. And one of those
Mm-hmm.
things he mentioned was changing jobs. See, that
Mm-hmm.
philosophy is totally different than the old school philosophy. You know, you get a job, you stay on the job, 30 years, you retire, you get your pension. Pensions are pretty much gone. You
Mm-hmm.
retire with, retirement, you go to the military, stay in there for 30, 40 years. And that philosophy is kind of aged out, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
I
so
was
he
just
talked
talking to
about
somebody about that.
changing jobs and using that as a way of increasing not just your knowledge base, but also increasing your earning capacity and your earning potential. Because
Mm-hmm.
he said every time he changed jobs with a 15 to 20% pay increase.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is another thing that's a plus to how the newer generation thinks
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
moving up and not just looking to try to stay in one place and hope that you get opportunities.
Right. I mean, if you look at it, most corporate companies right now are trying their best to retain their employees
Mm-hmm.
because of that model, because people
Yes.
are shifting, because the expectation of the generation has changed. So, therefore, you have companies that are creating new terminologies called, the mental health day,
Facts.
or they creating, rest day, or all type of like, you know, take time for yourself day. Like those days are happening, and those things are happening because of this dynamic of trying to decrease the retention rate on
Facts.
their employees. So I think it's, I mean, I think it's one of those things where personally I'm a little bit different. Like like I said, I'm a little bit more old school. I never believe in working somewhere where they do not value you. So if
Absolutely.
you don't feel valued, then yes, I think you need to continue to shift. But I'm also of the belief that consistency is more powerful than moving on to the next thing, right?
I couldn't agree more.
I believe in the power of consistency. So for me, it's been totally opposite because I've, for the last, you know, maybe 8 years, I've only worked for myself. I've been an entrepreneur. I took a huge leap of faith, and I actually told my boss one day when I was making 725 working at the Mall of America. I told my boss one day, I said, after I start this company at some point in the next year or two, I'm not going to work for anybody else for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
And and God was able to fulfill that for me. So
Praise the Lord. Um, so let's get into some real estate stuff.
let's talk. It's my lane.
And so I want to talk about real estate from two aspects. First, home ownership. And
Yep.
those of you that have watched the podcast since we started, we only are like 2 months in, so we're still building. But I encourage you to go back and really listen to some of the shows that we've done and listen to some of the content, the statistics, the numbers, the data that we've shown and shared. And one of the things that I want us to talk about briefly and then get into as far as people also wanting to move into the state, the capacity of owning real estate themselves, right? But just home ownership, how the numbers have decreased for two groups of populations of people, I believe, and I know one of them is African Americans, and I believe also the Latinos. Lord, y'all forgive me,
The
but let's.
Hispanic community.
I know the Hispanic community that we have a lot of buying power,
Mhm.
but we're lagging behind in wealth building, and one of those factors is home ownership. And I know there are different mindsets about owning a home right now. Some people think that the interest rates have gone up. Go back and listen to that podcast where I talked about the economy and home
Mhm.
ownership, and I showed you historical data, historical numbers from 1974 all the way up
Mhm.
to now with interest rates, and show you that now is not necessarily a bad time to buy a house based on interest rates. Because
Yep.
I showed you historical data. But
Yep.
Chauncey,
We're
tell me
still we're
what you
still in
think.
historical lows. Historical lows
Absolutely.
within the last 20 years. So
Yes, we're still in historical lows, right? So, what's your mindset about people, first of all, just owning a home? Because I know you've helped a lot of people get into their own home. And there is a huge wealth gap between, as far as the broad spectrum of the numbers, people that own a home and people that are renters.
Um, what's that question again?
What do you feel about people owning a home? Is that typically a foundational aspect of building wealth? And what do you think about that huge gap between the numbers when they show what the wealth of people that own a home versus the wealth numbers of people that rent? It's like
Yeah.
235, 40 something thousand versus like $5,200 or something like that for people that rent. The wealth
Well,
gap is staggering.
yeah. I think first thing before we even talk about wealth, and before we even talk about any of those things, I think
Yes.
the main thing with home ownership for people in general is stability. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and before you can ever get to the pockets of somebody, you have to get to the heart of somebody, right? So that's
Yes.
why the pastors that are able to do these these bigger offerings, they're a lot of times, if you pay attention, sometimes they do the offering after they do the message,
That's
because now
true.
they got to the heart of the people. Uh, or they'll do one offering, then do a special offering after that. Now, listen, I'm not coming at churches or pastors. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the more of the story is you have to get to the heart of the people in order to get to the mindset of the people. So the biggest thing is, before people can even talk about financially what they could do, they have to figure out where their mindset is. And if you don't have stability, it's hard for you to understand how to
True.
move into that next level of ownership over your own mindset.
That's so true.
Now I'm preaching over your own mindset. You got to have stability, right? So a big thing that a lot of people struggle with is stability. Like, if I'm renting and the landlord decides he wants to sell the house,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now he sells that house. Now, if I'm on a month to month lease or
Yep.
whatnot, now I gotta go. Even if I'm on a year lease, after my lease is up, they probably gonna, up the rent, which, I can't blame them. They probably buying the
Absolutely.
property at a premium and then having to turn
Absolutely.
around and fund this property. But at the same time, like, it pushes people out and it doesn't give people stability.
Yep.
So even when you talk about Section 8 housing, I'll never forget, I had a student that was, they were living on Section A, and they got pushed out because the neighborhood was shifting. The landlords decided to sell the property, blah 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 blah, and then there you go. Now they had to move to a different side of the state and still bust the school and try to figure out how to get back home from all type of activities and after school
Absolutely.
activities. So it's like the biggest thing is focusing on stability. So for people that saying, I don't know if I should buy a home, or I'm not ready to buy a home, are you ready for stability? And if you want stability, you have to step into ownership.
Absolutely. That's 100% facts. And what people don't realize is that window of time when you got to go is usually anywhere from 7 days to 30 days.
Yeah.
Because now they got some 7 day pay or quit things. Michigan is huge on that. And other places, they might give you 30 days.
Yep.
But you got to go and you got to find a place. And I know some people personally that have been impacted by that sudden, I'm going to sell the property or we're not going to renew your lease or whatever the case may be. And you got to be one of the top things I keep telling people is I don't care how much debt you're in, I don't care what your financial situation is, you better start changing your mindset about paying yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Always save at least 10% of your money.
Mm-hmm.
Save it for an emergency, for a rainy day, for whatever the case may be. I don't care what you call it. Put the chocolate factory fund name on it. I don't care what name you put on it, what you call it, but you need to be saving some money for yourself. So when things like that happen, you can address those issues and you
Yep.
can deal with them in a way that doesn't jeopardize you being potentially out on the streets.
No question. Well, I like I said, stability is number one. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell people this all the time. I did a video on it. I continue to say it. I will continue to say it. To change the trajectory of your life, You have to first change the conversations that you are having with yourself.
Absolutely.
And then once you're able to change the conversations that you're having with yourself, then you can start to change the conversations that you're having with other people. Okay. Now, when you start to change the conversations that you're having with other people, then you start to change the conversations that you're having with God.
Absolutely. Come on.
Because here's the thing, first
Come
it starts with
on.
you changing the conversations of what you think about yourself and where you
Mm-hmm.
think you could be in life. Then when you start to surround yourself around people that are uh, different, people that are more wealthier than you, like, then you're going to start shifting the conversation that you're having naturally,
Yes.
because these conversations that they're having are different. Then it starts to open up your mind to be able to realize, like, oh, there is bigger opportunities, there are bigger
Yes.
things that I could do, there is more that I can invest my time and my money and my resources into, like. And then as you start having those conversations with other people, then you're able to start going back to God and saying, God, how can you open up these opportunities for
Thank
me?
you.
I want
Thank
you
you.
start praying like, Lord, can you build me up? Lord, can you take me to that level? Lord, can you open up ownership opportunities for me? Lord, can you
Yes.
increase my financial authority? Lord, can you increase my financial understanding? Lord, can you give me wisdom as I make decisions financially? You start saying all these things to yourself,
Yes.
but it first starts with you have to change the conversation that you're having with yourself.
Absolutely. Did y'all hear that? At this point, let me look. The likes should be going crazy. I see some likes there. Hey, but y'all bring the likes on for us. Likes, hearts, and most of all, like I always say, you may be all good, but your cousin them's and your
They ain't.
aunties and some of your folk, they ain't doing so great. Some of the folk that you know. So share this video. I implore you, share this video. Send it directly to some of your friends, family, whoever. Send it right to their messenger. Also
It's on
share it on your
Facebook.
page. Share it on Facebook. We're streaming right now live on YouTube, on the Working People's Podcast YouTube page, James Hollingsworth. So y'all know what to do over there. Press that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. We're streaming live here on my personal Facebook page. We're streaming live on the Working People's Podcast Facebook page. And we're streaming live to Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church Facebook page.
The
The
missionary church.
Ship.
Come on now.
Come on now. Shout out to Rodney Williams and The Ship. Thank y'all for coming in and letting us stream to your Facebook page. So let's talk a little bit about this. Real estate investing. Let's just say a person now, they've secured themselves in a place where they got that element of stability for themselves,
Yep.
in their own personal situation. It's not mandatory, people, but what we're saying is we're talking in a broad spectrum. We're talking in generalizations when we talk about this. There
Mm-hmm.
are some people, because of their job, their career, their occupation, for them to buy a house right now is not practical because perhaps they travel a lot, they move around a lot. Like the guy that came on the show, he's blue collar. His name is Tyler. You all go back and watch that show that we did about would you date a blue collar man. Well, he travels a lot for his job. So right now, him buying a house is not practical. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a different scenario, right? In general, people should purchase a home, have their own residential home that they have that brings stability to their life. Now, let's just say you got some of those things. If a person wanted to begin to get into real estate investing, I know Anthony AT talked about it a lot. He talked about some things that you need to do just if you are thinking about moving into the space of real estate investing. But can you give some people some ideals, some principles, some foundational things that they need to do if they really talk about moving into the space of investing in real estate?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go back to what you just said about the blue collar guys. So,
Absolutely.
this is just my own. Like I said, this is my own personal opinion, right? Uh, I think if you don't own a home, you're missing out on the game,
Absolutely.
right? You're
100.
missing
I think
out
so.
on the game because, uh, and people make this mistake all the time, and some people think this is, you know, I go to college, I get a degree, now I have student loans. Let's say that I got $50,000 of student loans, and I say, oh snap, I can't buy a house, I have too much debt. That's not true. You
Not
can
true.
actually still purchase a home. Now, let's say you decide, oh, I am going to purchase a home, right? And I'm going to like utilize my home to create my equity, right? And as I'm creating that equity, then at some point, if I decide with the equity and depreciation of my home, if I want to sell it, right, or refinance
Mm-hmm.
it at some point
Yes.
to pay off my student loans, I can do so. So then instead of you saying, I'm not going to buy a house and you're waiting, 10, 15 years to pay off, 50 to $60,000 of student loans, now you just eliminated the opportunity
Mm,
of so much appreciation that you
mm.
could have gained over time. So whether I am in a stable home or not, right? Whether
I'm telling
I
you.
am in this house consistently or I walk in, I open up the door and I eat at the same table every single day, if I'm not in ownership, I am missing out on the game.
Absolutely.
We have to get in the game, people. We got to. Now, when you're talking about investing is so important because I think growing up, like you said, you want to save 10%, but growing up, we were always taught save, 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 save.
Mm-hmm.
And is the reality of it should be invest, 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 invest. Like
Thank you.
I should be saving, investing,
Absolutely.
save, invest. So as I get my checks, a certain percentage, like Pop said, and at least 10%, but whatever percent works for you, you should be saving, right? But then also the other percentage of some of that, you should be investing, and you should be
Absolutely.
looking for opportunities to continue to invest. Um, and that's just how it goes. So like during the pandemic, before I had even gotten into real estate, right before that, I had started investing into some stocks and some crypto and stuff like that. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh snap, my stocks are starting to go down. They closed down all the gyms. I can't train. And praise God that I invested into some stocks because it held me life over when I
Come
couldn't
on.
work at all. You know what I mean?
Woo!
So
Yes.
it was quite the blessing. I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm pretty much transparent. Like when everything had shut down, I think at one point I might have had $2,500 in our account. It got that low,
Mm.
and that was the lowest my account has was even when I was single,
Right, ever, right?
right? So
Bruh,
it had
you
got that low.
2,500. That's like
20. Woo!
you act like a crackhead up in there.
I was scratching and clawing, right? But I had money in stocks, so I had probably maybe over 25, 30 grand in stocks, but I had only had like 2,500 in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when you pull the stocks out, then you got to pay
Yep.
taxes on that stuff. So when so when it happened, I was just like, "Oh, snap, like I got to pull from the stocks. Got to pay taxes." but but thank God, the point of what I'm saying is thank God that I took the time early enough to invest where when I needed that was kind
Yep.
of like my rainy day savings account, if you would say, you know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
so yeah. But yeah, investing. I think it's important for everybody to understand investing and learn how to do it. Now I can give some practical ways on how to do it, but I think it's as we're talking about it, one way that you can start investing into real estate that is a very simple way for most people is house hacking. You can
There you
purchase a
go.
house, rent out bedrooms if it's a single family house, if you can do that, if you have enough understanding and also enough patience to do so. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then also you can, house hack and buy a duplex. You can house hack and buy a triplex or a quadplex, and rent out. And how it works with the bank is they will actually approve you for more money if you purchase a duplex up to a fourplex because they'll take that future rental income and add it on so that you're actually approved for more.
That's right.
Therefore, people think like, oh, I can't get into real estate because I don't have enough to afford that. And that's not the case. Because if you bought a fourplex and you lived in one unit and rented out the other three units, now they're
Mm-hmm.
going to use the future rental income from those three units to add on to your income. So now when you
Yes.
decide you want to go buy another property, they're going to take the income from the unit you just moved out of and add it on to your income. So now moving into the next property, you're actually going to probably get approved for more money on the next property than you did on the first property. And if you continue to do that cycle of saying quadplex, quadplex, and now all of a sudden you get approved for this much more, you could do
Right.
another quadplex if you want to. Now you're approved for much more. Now you say, you know what? Now you then probably built at that time. You probably became a millionaire because you probably have.
Facts.
That's probably over $1 million in assets right there. So now once
Facts.
you do that, now you turn around and you say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell all three of these quadplexes and I'm going to go purchase a 25 unit apartment building, right? So let's
Yes.
say I get 250,000 in equity, 250,000 in equity. Now I can take all that equity and go and purchase a bigger multifamily building. Now it's a little bit less headache. I'm only dealing with one building, one big problem, but I do have other tenants, more tenants. But
Yes.
the more you do that, right now, if your building is profitable enough, then you just have somebody else property management if the numbers make sense. It's all about numbers at the end of the day.
Facts. So Jackie asked a question. Um, Josh is watching with you. That's good, Jackie. Keep him watching. He needs to watch this. That's your cousin, Josh.
What's up,
Joshua.
y'all? What's up, family?
So Jackie asked the question, is it wise for me to consider buying a house? Absolutely. Well, I'll let Chauncey answer it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If you don't buy a house, you're not in the game. You're
Yeah.
losing. You're actually losing money.
Chauncey, you remember Alvin.
Yep.
So I know you probably don't know how, first of all, how we bought the house.
I
Every year,
actually have no idea how you bought the house.
so every year I would take a portion of my income tax return and I always invested it. Mutual funds was my thing back then. I was really heavy into mutual funds. Of
Hmm.
course, I was into some individual stocks too. Because remember my music room and all my equipment that I had in
Yep.
the music room, I bought all of that from stocks that I had bought.
Oh
Stocks that
wow.
I had. Walmart. What's that company that Gene worked for that went out of business? I can't think of the name of it right now. But yeah, I owned some stuff back then. But that's how I
Uh-huh.
bought all my music equipment. That's how we bought the house. I had stocks. I had mutual funds. And this is the part that I keep telling everybody. If you watch the last video that I did on the economy and on the housing market, our interest rate on that house was 8.5%.
Right.
8.5%.
That's real.
So when he says that we're still experiencing all-time lows in interest rates, I'm trying to tell y'all we are.
Hmm.
So interest rates are not too high to buy a house right now. So yes, absolutely buy a house if you can.
Yeah.
How can people set themselves up for it? Well, he just gave you one about house hacking. You know, that basically will help you to pay your mortgage while you still have some cash flow coming in from the property.
No question. No question. That's one way. That's just one way that you can create, you know, generational wealth
Mm-hmm.
and cash flow opportunities to be able to quit your job or whatnot. Another way that people can do it too is you can partner with people, right? You can find
Yes.
partnership. So people say, I can't get into real estate because I don't have any money. That's not
Mm-hmm.
true. That's actually
Mm-hmm.
not true at all. And people, I used to think that too, people. So don't think like you're on a person. I used to think like, well, I don't have a lot of money. I can invest in real estate.
Right.
That's not true. If you know somebody that has a little bit of money and you have an opportunity, I tell people there's pretty much 3 to 4 ways you can get into real estate. First way is you can get into real estate by finding a deal and financing a deal yourself, obviously. Another way you can get into real estate is if you know somebody with money that you can partner with to get into real estate. Another way you can get into real estate is if you have a deal. If you have a solid deal
Mm.
and you're educated enough in real estate, you can present that deal to somebody else and get and make money in real estate, which we see it today, which is called wholesaling. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that wholesale deals. They find a deal and then they say, you know what? Let me get this deal to somebody else. And then they get the check in between. And that check might be 10, 15, 20, 30, up to like 50 grand, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then another way you can get into real estate is if you have all three of those things, and now you can actually really, really invest into real estate. Either you have a deal, you got some money, you got a little bit of a deal, you got some money, and you also know partners that you can get into opportunities with.
Jackie asked another question, and I'm gonna let you answer it, and I'll piggyback on your answer. She said the reason that I'm asking about that question about should she buy a house, consider buying a house, is because at her age. So Jackie, if you don't mind, I'm gonna show your age. So it's too late. I done shared it. You're 61. She's 61. Let's just say anybody 55, 60, 61, 62. So she's 61. She said at my age I would never finish paying it off. I am 61. Oh, she put it in there. I am 61 years old. So what's your thoughts about that? Then I'll also piggyback on
So
what
I
what
actually
your
give you
thoughts
another
are.
thought. Uh, so another thing you could do, in which I'm actually doing this week, I'm gonna be pretty busy, but I'm actually driving down to St. Louis this week, and I am attending the city tax sale, okay, land tax sale. So people say, well, I can't get into real estate because I don't have a ton of money. Well, a lot of these major cities have land tax sales where you can pretty much go down and bid on properties for 900,000 bucks, 2,500 bucks. You can get a house for $3,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that $3,000 house, let's say that you need to put money into the house. Well, if you know somebody that has money, now that's where you can partner with somebody. And if you don't know somebody that have money, then you can also decide, hey, I could just fix this house up step by step if I want to. So there's plenty of opportunities that you can buy a house even if you feel like you're not going to pay it off, because it's not necessarily, when we're buying houses, we're not thinking about us, we're thinking about we, right? How
Right.
can we expand our generational wealth and opportunity? So you're really leaving it, you're doing it for your kids and for your
Absolutely.
grandkids, and giving them opportunities at ownership and understanding the power of ownership. So I have this really, really awesome idea. I can't share it all the way on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's too personal, but
Yes.
basically, no, that's a whole nother subject. I'll bring that
Yeah.
up later.
Yeah.
I'll
I
bring it up
understand
later.
where you're coming from. So, Jackie, with that too, Gina said something in that I agree. It's never too old. You're never too old to buy a house. You're never too old to buy a house. There's different ways to buy it. He talked about tax sales. He talked about different things. Even if you went and got a conventional mortgage on the house or FHA loan, whatever the case may be, and you had a 30-year fixed rate on the house, the ideal is you got to start changing our mindset. When you start thinking about what can I do to build something that I could pass to the next generation, it really does open up your mindset about a lot of things and how you're operating and how you're doing things and how you're handling your own personal finances. I know a lot of people don't have that mindset. They don't have the mindset that they want to leave something to their children, right? And because of that, I believe that really begins to be a plug that stops up your creative thinking when it comes to building wealth and building finances. So I would say it's never too old to buy a house, even if you went into a traditional type mortgage and it was 15 years, 30 years, or whatever the case may be. There are ways that you can set that deal up that it can be paid for through either insurance, different stuff like that. You can even put one of your children on the house with you, right? In terms of the ownership part. So if you pass away, they still have ownership, equity and stuff in the house, right? Chauncey, in
Hmm.
terms of just put one of your kids' name or your grandkids, put somebody's name on the house with you, right?
Yep.
Get some insurance policies, things that can be set up to make sure that the mortgage is taken care of. There's so many different ways to do it. I don't
Yeah.
want to necessarily start naming them, but the main thing is get the house. Get the house. Now, one thing I want to talk about, Chauncey, is diving into who Jesus. This is going to be a tough one because I know how some people feel about debt and credit, right? And when people start thinking that I'm talking against the whole debt free living type of philosophy, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't think people should throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's more than one way to build this wealth and to build, a really solid financial picture for yourself.
Hmm.
And debt free is great, but there are some holes in that whole thing. Number one, it requires that you save till you can pay for something cash.
Hmm.
But then the problem with that is if that's how you want to do it, you miss out on prices now. You miss out on potential interest rates now. Credit and debt is a way to lock in prices, lock in interest rates, and to be able to start building equity now. Because one thing, Chauncey, you and I remember you said, well, Pops, I know how money works. I said, man, how'd you know about that? That's like a core principle of finance. We talking about um, um, not just future value, projected values of money, but we start talking about present discounted values of money. That
Mm-hmm.
money in the future, $100,000, $200,000, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is not worth that same amount today.
Yep.
It's actually worth less today.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about that, you want to go ahead and try to lock things in just now. Time is your friend when you start talking about building wealth. Time is your friend, but it can also become your enemy if you keep waiting, having reasons why you don't want to do it now. I'll save up for it. Everybody don't have that luxury. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
also, it requires that you have a long time where you're living beneath your means, which I recommend you do anyway. Live beneath your means so you can have discretionary income. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Chauncey, is what are your thoughts about people when it comes to debt, credit, how we can use that wisely, and how we can understand the important principle of leveraging?
Yeah, absolutely. Credit should be your best friend.
Woo!
Credit should be your best friend.
Hearts should be going all over the place on that one.
Credit should be your best friend. Um, and the reason why I say that is because I'm not gonna lie. I'll be very honest. The flesh in me is saying I love credit, but also the flesh in me is saying I don't always like debt. But I'm just being just super transparent. But there's a such thing called good debt and bad debt. Okay.
Yes.
My credit card payments, maxing them things out is terrible debt. I do not like that debt. Me having a $500,000 house loan, that's good debt. Me having a $50,000 car loan may not be great debt,
May not be
right?
great debt.
May
Yeah.
not that may not be some good debt for you now. But I love credit. I
Me
absolutely love
too.
it. I'm about to help you guys understand this. So, and this is things that I've just started to understand over time and being around people, right? Is let's say, right, and this is the whole concept of ownership. So I'm gonna go from the first stage of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Credit is not money's not real. Like
No,
money is not real. Like when you go and you
it's
buy a
not.
house, you sign on a piece of paper, they just show you the number of how much they're giving you to purchase the
You'll
house.
never see that money.
And you never see that money. You never like, oh, I can touch this money. Like you never see it
No,
because
no.
money's really not real. Credit is not. It's you're leveraging something that's not necessarily real. Okay, let me just put it
Mm-hmm.
at that. That's a totally deep conversation. That's a little bit more. But listen. So now, since I understand that now what I'm fighting for is my freedom, right? And what I'm
Mm-hmm.
fighting for is interest rates. I'm fighting over rates, right? And
Yes.
I'm fighting over the inflation, right? I'm
Yes.
fighting
Oh, you
over
better talk.
inflation,
You better
right?
come
So
on. Come
now,
on.
when you're trying to understand how credit works, right? I have to understand that what I can utilize my credit for now, right, to invest into the future gives me more power now. My money that I have now has more power now than it does 10 years from now. So if I
Come
say,
on.
oh, I'm just going to save, now that money that I'm saving, where are you saving it at? Are you saving it in a regular bank savings account? You're getting 0.000.10 interest on that money, right? Or do you have that money in the index account? Or do you have the money in mutual funds? Or do you have the money in the S&P 500? I don't know. Wherever you have that money, I don't know. But the thing is you have to understand that like your money working for you now is better than your money sitting for you. I always say this
Yes.
all the time. Money moving is always money working, right? So in my and when I say that, I'm saying as I get paid, I'm investing, right? And that money's
Yep.
moving from my account to the next account. Now, as that money is sitting in that account, that money may be collecting interest at a 5% or 6% rate per
Yes.
year while it's in that account. So my money's still moving, right?
Yes.
But if you have your money just sitting, right, then it's not doing anything. So therefore, leveraging credit, right? So I have this certain amount of money. So let's say that I have $50,000 in the bank and I have a business account. I can go to the
Mm-hmm.
bank, right? And most
Yes.
banks, I just had a phone call with US Bank yesterday. Right now, they have a prime plus 2.5 prime rate on their lines of credit, right? Business lines of credit. So I was telling them like, oh, I've been with you guys for this long, blah 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 blah. Most of my accounts is with you guys. I do have other bank accounts. Listen, I learned this from one of my buddies, pops. We call him Pro, and he always said, "You ever seen a rat or a mouse with one hole to run to?"
Come on.
He said,
Woo!
you never seen
Boy.
that before. So
Boy, you better keep talking.
don't have all your money sitting in one bank. You got to leverage the banks by putting your money in different banks so that you can leverage that bank when you need to go get a loan or you need to go get a line of credit, whatever you need to do to get the
Yes.
job done for what you're trying to get done, right? So
Yes.
as I'm doing that, I'm like, hey, I got a significant amount of money with y'all right now. Like what can y'all do for me on the line of credit now? And they like, oh well, we could do this, blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, cool, sounds good. So he was like, I don't know if the line of credit will work, whatever. But I was like, well, can I get up to a certain amount for this line of credit? And he was like, well, we'll need tax returns if you wanted to go above $100,000
Right.
on a line of credit,
Right.
right? But understand what I'm doing now, right? I'm leveraging the relationship that I have with the bank. So if I got $50,000 in the bank, I can go to that bank and say, "Hey, open up my business account," and then I say, "Hey, since I have business credit now, can I utilize this 50 grand to get a line of credit?" Now I can take that line of credit to go, and if I find the right real estate deal, I can
Mm-hmm.
use somebody else's money,
Yes.
right?
While your
And
money's
all I'm
still
trying
invested.
while my money is still invested, and my whole goal is to beat the bank,
Come
beat
on.
the bank. So if I'm getting 7% interest on this money, my goal is if I'm going to go in and do a job and I find in this flip job or a real estate deal, I want to be able to go into that deal and I'll tell my contractors, hey, y'all got 6 weeks max to get this job done, right? 6 weeks max to get this job done. So now but I'll give them probably a bonus. I'll say, hey, I'll actually give you a bonus if you can get it done in 3.5 weeks, though. You see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
now
Yes.
I'm giving them a time frame in which they can get the job done. That gives them a level of motivation. When you're working with contractors, you're working with different people. There has to be incentives that keep them motivated to work hard to get the job done. Everybody's motivated by money. So now they
Mm-hmm.
go in, they get the job done. Once they get the job done, right? Now, it may take, let's say that I flip this property, it may take me a month to sell it, right? So if it takes me a month to sell the property, or whatever the case is, now in reality, I've only technically really paid 2 months of interest on to that line of credit. And now I just made, let's say, call it the ARV was a 50K increase on the ARV. So now I take out my closing fees and commissions and stuff, all that stuff. And now I just made, $40,000 or whatever, call it back.
Yes.
And now I took that money, paid off the loan and paid off whatever I used. And then I just made the difference. So then if you keep doing that, and just like Steve Harvey says, if you have a $10 gift, use that $10 gift. You do it 10 times, you're gonna get $100, right?
Yes.
And then you take that $100 hustle and you do that 10 times. Now you got $1,000, and you just keep building. And as you stay consistent and you keep building, then you be like, you look back 3, 4, 5 years, and you be like, dang, I just became a millionaire
Right.
using credit. But the whole time I was using credit, and I was finding ways to beat the bank. There's a lot of 0% interest only cards. Let's say that I want to go do. There's a lot of even furniture companies that have first 12 months no payments. There's some
Yes.
furniture companies that have literally the first 12 months no payment. So let's say that I want to start an Airbnb business. Oh, I'm locked in right now. Let's say I want to start an Airbnb business, and I'm like, man, I can't really necessarily afford like the furniture, but you have credit. You
Come
have
on.
good credit. So
Zero
now you
percent
can go to
interest.
them and you can say, hey, boom, boom, I'm gonna put this all on on credit, and it could be 12 months no payment for the first 12 months, or 12 months 0% interest. Now I can start the business, get the business going, didn't pay for the furniture, and as the Airbnb started making money, now I just pay the furniture off from the money that the Airbnb is making. So now I just did all of that with literally little money out of pocket.
Well, you don't even know what you're doing to me right now. I feel like I'm in church on Sunday morning, and the Holy Spirit is about to make me start speaking in tongues. But you know how I start. You know how I feel when you start talking about money and investing and deals. Woo!
Facts.
My goodness! Look, I'm gonna nail this because y'all need. I'm telling y'all, just because the podcast is small, y'all need to keep coming through because the content and the information that we're sharing is golden. It's life changing. Money that is not moving and circulating is a liability.
Yep.
It's a liability to the bank, and it's a liability to you. That's one of my problems with the whole save, and just pay cash for it. You're not leveraging your cash flow. You're not locking in prices, interest rates, all of your stuff. You're not building appreciation. Look, I done went through it, and I'll keep going through it. I'm going to bring some of that content back so that people don't have to keep going back to some of the earlier videos. Now that we've nailed some of our, sound quality issues, got some of that stuff remedied. Talking about the future value of money.
Yep.
And Chauncey alluded to it again today. Money this is a core principle of finance, y'all. A core principle. Money today in hand, right now, is more valuable than money you will earn in the future because of the potential of it.
Mm-hmm.
The earning and growing potential of it. So the longer you keep putting off talking about, I'm going to wait to do this, wait to do that, you are just literally like taking invisible hands, put them into your pocket with a knife and cutting holes in your pockets. Mm-hmm. You're sabotaging your own financial future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So leveraging is huge, and
you gotta leverage your cash.
You gotta learn how to leverage your cash flow. Because if you can keep your money invested and out earn the interest rate on the loan, he said beat the bank. So you out earn the interest on the loan and you can outpace inflation. You can't find a better deal than that.
Mm-hmm. And when he's saying outpace inflation, it's saying, okay, if inflation is growing at this rate, right? It's like, how can I invest my money into assets, right, that allow me to gain over what inflation rates are, right?
Yes.
So even if we're talking about interest rates, right? So, a big thing when people, like right now, people are saying, well, if the housing market, right, and the rates are 5%, right? But as I'm investing my money into real estate, and real estate is still appreciating at 7 to 8% or even 10% per year, I'm beating inflation. I'm beating the rate because I'm gaining at least, I'm making that difference of what that interest rate is. If I got a 5% interest rate on my house, but I'm appreciating at 10% a year, I'm making 5% of that appreciation that I'm winning. I'm winning every year off of. So my money is technically still moving with me purchasing a home.
On the conservative end, if you could stay ahead of inflation, 5%. If you could just conservative, 5 to 6% ahead of inflation, man, you killing the game. Even honestly, when you start talking about this level of money that we're talking about, 3%. If you're outpacing inflation by 3%, even 1%, you winning the game.
You ain't losing.
You're winning. You're killing it.
You're winning.
But the key is money that ain't moving and is not invested and is not. Look, I never said this on the podcast before because I feel if I say it, I'm gonna probably get some pushback. Regular traditional savings account, I don't even know what that is no more. I ain't had one in years. I refuse to go to the bank and open up a traditional savings account, and put my money in there to do what? Absolutely refuse to do that. Now I get it. There's a place for it, I guess. But there are better places you could put your money, your extra money that you're saving to have it invested where it's earning a way better interest rate.
Hmm.
Especially if you don't need that money for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. Come on now.
Hmm.
It's insane to have your money sitting in an account that's earning, not even earning 1% interest rate.
Yeah, no question. I think something that's helpful for people too, because some people are like, well, where do I start with building this financial legacy? And a good start for some people is life insurance. Uh,
Yes.
if you're selfish, then maybe life insurance isn't for you. But if you're thinking about your family, then life insurance is totally for you. And
Yeah.
there is ways
Absolutely.
there is ways, and I say that in multiple different situations and facets because there's ways that you can also benefit from life insurance from your like yourself, right? You can
Yes.
create, no, you can have a term life insurance plan that your kids or whatever the next generation can benefit from, or whoever the beneficiary is on your account. But then also there's a way where you can have, a whole life policy or term policy if they're structured, or not a term policy, a whole life policy or an index policy. Obviously,
Yep.
I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
financial person, so I am not liable and responsible for anybody's decisions.
I keep
Listen,
telling y'all, you better do some research.
but but you better Google and YouTube
Yes.
because it's out there.
Yes.
Now
It's
listen,
out there.
there's a way, there's this thing, I'm gonna talk about this, and this one snippet right here can help a lot of people really understand, and this is part of a vision that I feel like God has given me, but also being around certain people like my boy At and guys like that that understand this stuff at another level. But um, one of my goals is to create my own family bank. Okay, and the way that I am going to initially structure it is through life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, uh, and I am not a financial person. I am not licensed to just understand that this is just what I'm doing. Okay. I am utilizing the life insurance plan that my parents have that they're going to pass down to me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as they do that, I am also then, therefore, going to create a life insurance plan that I can also place on my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now they already have a life insurance plan that they have that I'm a beneficiary for. And then also, I'm going to get another life insurance plan that I can put on side of my parents. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now what I can do is whenever, you know, that it's inevitable that it happens. But now what I could do is when that happens, if I have a $2 or $3 million life insurance plan, now I can take that $3 million life insurance plan. That, remember, when you get it, it's tax free. You're not getting
Hello.
taxed on that money,
Hello.
right? So
Tax
now
free.
I can take that money, put that money into a trust account, and have my estate that functions the plan, right? So now all my siblings can essentially get money up front, right when when that day comes or whatever the case is. But then next step is now I can create this family bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now this family bank can now be collecting interest on that money every single year. So I can be collecting 6% to 10% interest, or yeah, interest on that money, every year. So if I got $3 million and that's collecting 10% interest, I'm making a significant amount, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
as that money is in there, it's constantly moving, it's constantly collecting interest. Well, now I my goal and my vision is to buy a vacation home for the family, where, and me and my wife, we talked about this, where our families would come together, and even this would be able to last for generations because the estate planning is going to structure and manage this whole thing, right?
Absolutely.
So now, let's say we may have probably $5 to $7 million into the family bank,
Yes.
and we're going to also have a family foundation. So now, every single year, the family would have to come together and communicate and talk through as a family, where do we want to invest our money? What do we want this legacy to look like? Blah, 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 blah. Everything will be in a curriculum. I'm going to create a curriculum that everything will be kind of mapped out, that all they have to do is just follow it, right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is as this money is constantly collecting interest, the family, in order for them to get access to the family bank, they're going to have to attend the family meeting every single year.
Absolutely.
So now what happens is you're creating a structure within your family for the next generation to understand financial literacy and understand the value of what it means to be a Hollingsworth family member,
Absolutely.
right? And as you're doing that, the value is the first thing that I believe God is calling us to do is to be givers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for
Yes.
me is I want to get to a point, and this is going to be this is another level of thinking, but I want to get to a point where I'm making millions, where I can literally live off of 50% of whatever I make and give 50% of whatever I make back
Absolutely.
towards kingdom projects, organizations, building wells, building schools in Africa,
Yes.
doing work in inner city communities here in the United States, and it's a bigger dream and it's a bigger mindset. But the bigger thing is people have to understand you have to learn how to leverage life insurance plans to get
Yes.
to where you want to go. So, like, if I'm going to try to buy a commercial property, right? People don't know this, but the value of your life insurance plan increases your net worth.
Mm.
The value of your life insurance plan increases your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have, if you're going to the bank and you're like, man, I want to get this, $1 million building, the bank's going to see, okay, let me see your personal finance statement. So they're going to see if you have liquidity. They're going to see if
Mm-hmm.
you have what type of money you have coming in, like what are your assets, what assets do you have, and then they also want to see what type of insurance plans do you have and how much is the value of those insurance plans, because they want to know, if
Mm-hmm.
this dude die, can we still get our money?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you have a life insurance plan, it can increase your net worth that allows you to be able to purchase and get into bigger real estate deals. Good Lord.
Bro. Oh my God. Yeah, I feel good. Look here. Y'all don't, he didn't even see the show. You didn't even see Bill becoming your own bank. Oh, you
No,
didn't
I
see
didn't.
that
Yo,
show.
no,
So
I
we
didn't see
had
that.
special guest Sharita Green on. She's a life insurance agent in multiple states. I want to say like 14 states. And we talked about becoming your own bank.
Yep.
I keep telling y'all that just because there's some people out there that's trying to tell you this stuff ain't possible, the way that we've been taught and the way that we've been told to do things
It's wrong.
in the marketplace as consumers is, ooh, I gotta be nice. I gotta be good. Say it again, Chauncey. Wrong. Just
It's wrong.
it's
It's wrong.
wrong.
It, it,
It's
we've been taught the game. We haven't been taught the game in the right way. We're not,
no.
like, people always say we need to change it. We need to change what's happening. Listen, yes, we can change it, but you can also change it by understanding how it works. Once you understand how the game works, now you can start to change the game for you and yours and your family, right?
Absolutely.
And for trans, it's not just about generational wealth. It's about transformational wealth, right?
Yes.
How do I take, and this is one concept that me and my guy AT talked about, is, and he sent me a video on it or something like that. But how do I transform not just my family, not just Chauncey and Tara's kids and their kids, but how do I transfer the wealth over to my siblings? How do I transfer the wealth over to my cousins and my friends and my family and the maintenance guy at the building, or the guy at the Lifetime that's wiping down the machines,
Yes.
and the people at the front desk of the dental place. Like, how do I change and shift the transformational wealth and knowledge that God has given me, and I've put myself in a room to try to learn this stuff, right? How do I transform the next person? And the more that we can think about the next person, the more impact that we individually can actually have on our own life and
Yes.
everybody's life around us. Now, here's the placement with that. The mindset and the placement is in the Black community, not just, but specifically, I'm aiming towards Black people right now. In the Black
Mm-hmm.
community, it's too much of, I got to get me and mine, and that's it. And the problem is with that is when you're so focused on you and yours, you're raising up another generation that's selfish. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that should not be the goal. And there's a lot of Black people that are moving and navigating in these spaces where they are in the room with wealthy people and able to have
Yes.
wealthier conversations and gaining a lot of wealth of knowledge from these people. But then they turn around and they don't give it and they don't share the knowledge. Then it's like, bro, what? Like, so like, and on top of that, it's even bad in Minnesota because in Minnesota, it's not a ton of Black people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
since it's not a ton of Black people, when you have certain Black people that are moving in certain spaces and real estate development projects and blah, 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 guess what they do? They don't even share the knowledge. They don't
That's
even give the
true.
game. They don't even tell people, hey, this is how you do it. Why? Why
Yep.
don't they do it?
Absolutely.
Because they feel like there's not enough room and not enough opportunity for all of us. And I'm telling you that that's opposite. If we actually join together, if we
Yes.
actually work together, there's opportunity for all of us. There is a demand right now for opportunity for people of color in corporate spaces and corporate arenas. And we're putting pressure, and we have been doing it since George Floyd. Since the last 5, 10 years, we've been putting pressure on our government system to say, hey, we want access to the money. We want access to the opportunities that are out there for people. A guy at a conference we were just at, he brought this up and it was really dope. And it's really good for people to hear on this podcast. So there's $86 trillion they're being allocated towards business from private equity companies. Private
Mm-hmm.
equity companies, right? And only 1% of that money is being allocated towards businesses of color.
Come on now.
So there's $86 trillion that are out there that are being moved around from private equity companies to business owners. And only 1% of that money is being given towards Black business owners. Black people, white people, Asian people. That's a problem. That's
Yes,
an
it
issue.
is.
It's
It's a
not
problem.
just it's not just a Black people problem. It's not just a white people problem. It is a problem in general. And we have to try to bring equitable change by understanding that there's enough room for all of us at the table. And if there isn't, then start to create your own table.
Absolutely. I mean, you can say that one again. Create your own table.
Yep.
Create your own table. Now, while we out here arguing with each other, talking about this table over here, do the math. 5 people come together with $50,000. How much is that?
Right. Right. Right.
Could you
Literally.
move something with that? Could you introduce yourself into something with that?
Listen,
Could you
y'all.
open the door with that?
I'm about to show you. I'm about to give a blanket number for you guys right here. So you could buy a condo. You could buy a condo in on the coast of Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was a couple years ago. You could have bought them things for like 300, 350 a few years back. Okay. And you probably still can if you find somebody that's willing, if you find the right motivated seller, right? So let's say that you buy a condo for 350,000, right? And you got to put down, let's say that you were able to pull off some strings and you knew some people and you had somebody that was a solid grantor for the deal. And you only had to put down 15%. Okay. So you're talking $52,000 to get into a condo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say that this condo, and a lot of condos rate on the water, if they rate on the water, them joints is bringing in anywhere between 100 to $175,000 a year in short term rental income. Okay,
Yes.
so you're going $175,000 for your a year for your rental income. So let's say that your expenses are about 40%. So I'm going 40%, boom, So $70,000, and let's say on a 350, let's say my mortgage is like 23, 24, 2,500 bucks a year or a month.
A
So
month.
I'm
Yeah.
going 2,500. Okay, 2,500 times 12 with the expenses. So I'm at $70,000 minus that $30,000. Boom. I'm at $40,000
Mm-hmm.
for my cash flow for the year. So let's say that you decided, hey, I'm going to knuckle down and I want to get into this deal with one other person. So you all both came to the table with the $25,000 out of pocket. If you had a motivated seller, you can also get them to cover your closing costs. So you're really only coming out of pocket your down payment of your 15 to 20% or whatever that amount is,
Right.
right? So now you got two people, right? You got two people that invest into this deal, and you put in $25,000, probably roughly a piece, 25
Yep.
ish $1,000 a
Issue.
piece.
Yep. Yep.
Now your net cash flow, so your net operating income is $40,000 for the year. Okay, so now if your net operating income is $40,000 by the year for the year, divide that by two people, you just made 20 grand. So you do that same thing and you replicate that 5 years and 20 grand, and you own that property. And how much did you make? You made $100,000 in 5 years.
Yeah. Five
Okay.
years.
So now, and that's one deal. So now you're saying, oh, well, I can't do it. Well, figure out a way to get to how can you get to that point? Don't say I can't do it. You got to ask yourself the right questions. How do I get to that point? Now you say, okay, if I could do a deal like that, and I could do two deals like that, if I could do two deals like that, right? Some people are only making $40,000 a year income or for
Right.
their salary, right?
Right.
If you could do two deals like that with a partner and make at least 15 to 20 grand per year from doing that deal, now you just already just took yourself out of your job.
Yep.
Now you do that and you replicate that same thing. So you do that two or three more times. Now you're making 60, 70, 80 grand a year, right?
Absolutely.
And there's so many different ways and avenues to skin the cat. Uh, but you guys have to understand that you got to ask yourself the right questions. How do I do it?
And here's the thing, folks. I keep saying, educate yourself. The top three things you need to always do is educate yourself. Number two, educate yourself. Number three, educate yourself, because you got to understand how this works, how the money works, and the next level. And you got to change your mindset. Number one mindset is, or just you want to just live good right now. So all of your income is going to living right now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's cool if that's what you want to do, all right? But at some point, you're going to age out of the employment sector. That's a problem. And if you start fooling around with state supporting aid on Medicaid and all that stuff, you just basically just
Yep.
gave your legacy to the state,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's number one. Number two is the whole idea of, well, I got mine. My kids gonna have to work and get theirs too.
That's
Man,
bad.
if that ain't selfish,
And it's not biblical.
it's not biblical at all. So here, this is when it start going left, Chauncey. When I start telling people about, oh, you want to live by the Bible and start preaching this, but you ain't preaching this over here.
The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his kids. That means it is the grandparents' responsibility to be taking care of the grandkids. So
Absolutely.
therefore, if you're thinking two generations ahead, it is not my responsibility technically to be taking care of my kids. Like
Absolutely.
obviously, I have to watch them. I got to do stuff for them. I got to take. But when we're talking about financially and setting them up for school and buying their first house and all these different things that they want to do if they want to start a business, is really technically not my responsibility.
Talk about it.
It's really the grandparents' responsibility to take care of the grandkids. So
Talk about
therefore,
it.
but it's my responsibility to build a foundation to take care of their kids. But now, since we're behind in the black community, it's actually my responsibility now. I got to be thinking 3 to 4 generations ahead. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have time to play around. I don't have time
Absolutely.
to like just listen to the haters and the doubters and listen to manipulation. I don't have time
Absolutely.
for it. I have to be able to position my life in a way where I can first enjoy my life with my
Yes.
kids and my family, but also position my future by my future generations by helping them understand the importance of serving, giving, and working, right? So that they can create a
Yes.
generation that is three generations ahead, or whatever the case is. But now we're just a few generations behind. So therefore, in order to get ahead, we got to put our feet to the plow. You like we got to work
Absolutely.
it, right? And I got to get this thing three generations ahead. So now my kids can actually get on track and saying, all right,
Absolutely.
it's their responsibility now to start to take care of their grandkids. So we got to get this thing on track.
Look, we start talking about reading your Bible. And I said it, and I don't try to be condescending and talking down to people, but you need to read your whole Bible, the whole thing. You start talking about, David said, "Oh, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread." But if you selfish and all you thinking about is you, yeah, your seed gonna be begging bread, and probably you too. Why would God open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you won't have room enough to see? See, we love quoting these scriptures, but you selfish. All you think about is you.
Yep.
Why would God give you an abundant blessing and you don't plan on sharing it? Not even with your own kids, with your own posterity. Why would he open up a window? Why would he even open up a laundry basket door? Some of y'all don't know what those are. Why would he even open up the little animal cat door that the little cat can go in and out? Why would he open up anything to you if all you're thinking about is spending everything that you have on yourself? $1.6 trillion of buying power, black people.
1.
That's what we had from last year. 1.6 trillion. But guess where it's at? It's on your feet. It's on your head.
It's on your neck.
It's on your neck. It's on your eye. It's on your wrist.
Your eyelashes.
Your eyelashes. You're driving in it. But think about the double portion. Think about, now I got myself together. And I've got myself together. So Chauncey and I have had some talks and discussions about a lot of things that to make sure that I'm making sure that I can set up to make sure that they have something. And I'm thinking 4 generations ahead. Right? So whatever I leave to him and his siblings, his brothers and his sister, whatever I leave to them, now that becomes a double inheritance because of what they're doing for themselves and their children and their children's children, if they follow the same philosophy. So if you think about with this compounded growth, right? Because if you can't understand the rule of 72 and compound interest, you're not going to understand the financial compounded growth of a legacy, financially speaking. Where if I'm thinking about my children's children, and he's thinking about his children's children, and then his kids are thinking about their children's children, think 5, 6, 7 generations from now, what type of financial legacy we built. When you talk about that compounded, that double blessing, that double anointing, whatever you want to call it, the double portion. So whatever is left to him, he then could take that. He won't even, he can say, man, wow, look, Pops left us this. I could put this over here to grow and to do this. And it just keeps building. So there's even in the plan that I have that's going to them is once the estate that came from me, just for me, hit a certain number, it goes into the numbers that helps him to build that foundation that he talked about earlier. So, folks, we got to think about what do we want for the future. And if you're eating your seed today, you will not have a harvest for next year and the years to come. Stop eating all your seed. The Bible says God gives seed to the sower. So if you're lacking seed, could it be because you're not a sower? And if you're not faithful over the little bit that God gives you, why would he make you a ruler over much? I know it sounds hard, but we're trying to help you. And I hope you're getting value out of this conversation with Chauncey. I asked Chauncey, I said, Chauncey, do you want me to tell you the notes that I have and just the outline, or just want to shoot and go with the conversation and let you go? And he was like, just let me go. I don't need no outline. I don't need no you know, conversation
Yeah,
or nothing.
for sure. I
So
wanna I
Chauncey,
wanna I wanna leave people with a couple things unless you got a
that's what
question
I was
for me.
about to ask you. What you wanted to leave with them.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
one
wanna
other quick thing,
yeah.
Chauncey. I know this is gonna be hard to do, and I know it'll be hard. But man, if there was a way that we can align schedules and possibly even get you and AT on the podcast at the same time, mm.
That'd be dope. That'd be super dope. I'll
But
check
anyway,
in with him.
yeah, see what you come up with. But yeah, so you go ahead and shoot for it. Go for it. Whatever you want to say to give us to wrap up.
First thing is I think it's important to create God inspired goals. It is important to create God inspired goals.
Yes.
The next thing is this is, and I kind of preach, but I officiated my first wedding about a couple weeks ago, and then it was actually really funny because it ended up being in my devotional this
Mm-hmm.
morning was about the woman with the issue of blood, and I talked about how how she found her healing, and her healing came from being in proximity of Jesus. And I just want to encourage people that there is so much more power in your proximity. So who are you spending your time with? Who are you spending your time around? And how valuable
Yes.
are those relationships to where you want to be? Because if you're not in proximity with God inspired goals, it's going to be hard to go anywhere that you desire to go. Okay. So, are you in proximity with the Holy Spirit? Are you in proximity with your own emotions?
Mm.
Are you in proximity with where you at physically? Like, are you physically taking care of yourself and, and trying to do certain things to, be healthy? Like one thing I've been trying to do, I've been trying to run more, man. It's a good way for me to clear my mind and blah 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 blah. I was on a run this week, and I just felt the Holy Spirit hit me something heavy. And this is gonna be it's very symbolic, but so I was I was on a run and I was on a trail and I was running away from my house. I was running away from my house, and when I got to a certain spot, I said, "Now I have to run home."
Mm.
And it was symbolic to me of understanding, like I felt like sometimes throughout life I was running away from the call that God had on my life to impact my family and impact the people around me in a different way. But then at the same time, I started I the literally the power and the grace of God hit me so heavy,
Mm.
and because I started to understand that it didn't even matter how far I had ran from my home, I still had the ability to turn and run back home. And I want to encourage somebody that it doesn't matter how far you have went away from goals that you set 15, 5, 10, 20 years ago. There's always an opportunity for you to turn and run back home because of the proximity, the power of proximity when you are with the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
If you have a greater vision to impact your family financially, be in proximity with the Holy Spirit and be in proximity with people that are going to allow you to elevate, that are going to allow you to elevate. Now, with that, the most successful people are the most consistent people.
Mm.
You can't complain if you haven't reached a level of success if you haven't been consistent with the opportunities that have been in front of you.
Absolutely.
Can I believe that consistency and obedience really embarks on the heart of God. Consistency and obedience really embarks on the heart of God, meaning literally God is going to blow your mind when you
Mm.
become consistent with your relationships, when you become consistent with your giving, when you become consistent in your work ethic. And then guess what? At the end of the day, when you're obedient, when he rewards you with those blessings and you're obedient with it, then now he can trust you to open up more opportunities for you to impact more people. And the responsibility goes on and on and on. You have to say no to your fears and say yes to faith. When you start to say yes to faith, the rooms and the doors will begin to be unlocked. God bless y'all.
100%. I'm asking again, encouraging you all, share this video with your friends and your family. They need to hear this message, and they need to hear it from somebody, just not me, but somebody that's in their own generation. You wanna impact your children? Let them hear somebody from their generation talking about the things, not just that they have the ability themselves to do or the capabilities, but to open up their to activate. Chauncey, I think you talked about that one time about activating your dreams or activating.
Yeah,
I forgot how you worded it, but that's what a lot of people need. Just somebody to plug in and just jumpstart or activate their dream cycle to start running.
right. I mean,
And so,
we put our phones on the charger every night.
absolutely,
When
every
do we
night.
charge in our faith? When do we charge our faith?
Mm-hmm.
You literally, the first thing people would do when they wake up in the morning is they got their phone right next to them on the charger, and the first thing they do is unplug their phone out of the charger, and then they get on it.
Absolutely.
When was the last time you plugged in your faith into your life? When was the last time you plugged in your faith into your finances? So whatever, I can keep going, but I got to get
Absolutely.
going. I got to get going.
Yes.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me, pops.
So I
Um,
will go ahead and click you off, and I'll do my wrap up.
Hey,
Thanks for coming on.
last thing. If
Yes.
people that are looking to get into real estate, you can follow me on social media at Chauncey Hollingsworth on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And then also, last thing, if you guys are looking to like take another step and learn, and a good resource for you guys is called Flip to Dow. Is DJ Envy and Caesar Flipping NJ.
Mm.
They have a platform, and the membership platform is $100 a month, and they have videos on Airbnb, wholesaling, flipping, all that type of stuff. So if you guys are looking for a resource, you can't say I didn't help you. I
Come
gave you
on.
guys a resource. It's a great resource for you guys. So good luck to everybody. Appreciate you guys. If you ever need some help or some insight, I'm here to help. So
Thank
much
you.
love, y'all.
And I have tagged Chauncey in all of the in the video, so you can actually go and let me go ahead and tick them off here, right there. You can actually go and uh, connect with him on his social media platforms. I have put them in tagged them in the video, right? So I've tagged them in Chauncey Hollingsworth, Team Real Estate, also tagged them in the Mission Real Estate Group and the Hoops of Christ. So you can go and find them on social media on Facebook, and also if you go over to Instagram, you can do the same. So thanks for you all coming in. I hope this has been some great benefit to you. But do me a favor, I'm encouraging you. Please help us get the algorithm going. Press that like button. Press the heart button on the video. If you're over on the Working People's Podcast, do the same. If you're watching via the Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church Facebook page, do the same. Press the heart button, like thumbs up button. Also share the video. So share the video. Share this video. You can also go over to YouTube to the Working People's Podcast and press that subscribe button over there just to subscribe to the channel and help us out over there to get that channel up and running as well. So, like I say, we're about maybe 2 months in, a little bit over 2 months in, somewhere in that 2 month range in on the podcast, and we're trying to build value, and it's all about helping other people excel. That's our goal. That's the mission, and that's the plan. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you all coming through. I'll try to go back through the comments section if there's some comments that I missed. And thanks, man, but I got to go. I gotta go. I'm out.